Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of 22 at the Lips podcast from EMS personnel and first responders to other providers and anybody and everybody in between. So, kind of like if you saw what I posted, I had some big news coming up, something that's very exciting and will advance the podcast. And honestly, it's something that I never expected to happen, but very thankful that it has. So, to kind of talk about our upcoming events and how we're, in my mind, vamping the podcast beyond what I could do on my own, I have with me not Geoff, as I've quickly learned, but I'm going to fumble that many times. I have Jeff Murphy. He is the founder of Master Your Medics. If you know them from social media or one of the many times I've retweeted, I guess, and reblogged their stuff, it is a phenomenal educational platform, and I'm constantly learning something new every day. And the way that, Jeff, you're able to kind of like take big concepts and one, make them more visual, well, which helps me a lot, but also like make them in a more understandable approach versus the baptism by fire hose that we have in paramedic school. It is incredible. So if you want to talk about what is Master Your Medics, what is the approach that you have, talk about your thing, tell the people who you are, what you stand for, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I might as well just change my name somehow to Geoff Murphy. I don't know. I think people would understand, be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Just put a poll out there and see how many people actually think my name is. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really truly humbled by your thoughts of who we are. And what we do at Master Medics is take those concepts, like you said, and create a an ability to understand them in a visual way. And I think that's our kind of our superpower at Master Medics. And like with our team is that we don't just talk about things or, read things. We actually explain it and draw things out. That's how my brain works. And I think that's how a lot of students brain works. And so that's what we do. And thank you so much for sharing our stuff. It's truly humbling to know that people like yourself are sharing them. And but yeah, that's what Master Medics does. And we basically have videos for any topic that you can think of. If you're going through paramedic school or if you're a new paramedic, that's what we do. And yeah, we're very excited to team up with you and have you host the a podcast and collaborate with us and kind of work with us on that. We're pretty pumped with what we can do together.
And it's still so surreal for you to say that because, like, even whenever you first reached out, I was like, me? Are you sure? Me? But so what we're planning on doing, we're going to be teaming up to potentially and hopefully reach larger audiences in the EMS field, and more importantly, spread education as well as bringing people on in various aspects of this field, because kind of what I've geared towards is that it's not just working on the ambulance that is EMS. There's so many more aspects. And not even just that, but with other, I guess you could say, higher level providers. Like I had Dr. Laura Purdy on, and we talked about community health and paramedicine, but there's so much there's so much more than just, hey, you got your paramedic, you got your EMT, congratulations, you're stuck. But there's always somewhere else you can take your career and what you've learned.
Yeah, and so I think that what we're trying to do with partnering, and the reason that I reached out to you, I guess I'm not sure if I told you this or not, so this is a great opportunity to kind of just and that flame. The reason I did this, and I've been listening to your podcast for a little while, and we've been looking for a podcast host for quite some time. And what we wanted to achieve with it was that we wanted to have someone that was going to bring on really exceptional guests and ask really curious questions. And I didn't think that I was the right person to be the host because I think that I'm past that like super curious young paramedic stage of my career. And so what I wanted to do is bring on someone that is newer in this career but is driven to be great. and is curious to ask those questions to these the guests that we're going to bring on to continue to better herself. And so the idea was that I view Alexis as journeying, becoming a good paramedic and a great paramedic with you guys that are listening. And that's kind of why we chose her and we reached out to her. And now we know that she gets lost for words, she gets read, and she gets excited. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are that motivated and that excited about those things. And I think we've chosen right. I'm super pumped, and to have her do this and be on this journey with you guys. I think that's the real key, is that there's not many podcasts out there that do that. And we're excited to have you guys along with this journey with her in being exceptional.
I'm gonna need a moment to compose myself because I'm about to cry. But
this is recorded.
So no, that really means a lot. Because for my listeners, if you've hung in with me from the beginning, I literally in the introduction was like, one, I don't know what I'm doing in EMS in general, sort of, kind of, but also I don't know what I'm doing with this podcast, and I hope it does good things. And if not, then at least I gave it a go. So the fact that you reached out to me and like you think that of me, it really means a lot. And I hope I can do justice to our goals that we have. So if you're kind of curious about where we're going to be taking this and the things we'll talk about, and besides just like the guests we'll have on, a little sneak peek at some of the things that we've kind of thrown around is mental resilience in this field and the ability to have this job and not just become a salty, crusty provider who is kind of, you see them and they say the same things of like, well, that's part of this job, suck it up, buttercup. Like, you can be a human being in this field, and that's something that I feel like is so underrated and not talked about enough. We'll also be talking about performing a top-notch trauma report because, again, it's the idea that you're taught certain things in school and you're taught certain ways to do things, but when it comes to in the heat of the moment, you go into the trauma room with your patient, and it's everybody and anybody in any type of role in that trauma ER room, and everybody looks at you and your mind goes blank. What do I say? We'll talk about that. We'll also get into some other areas such as the use of ketamine in EMS and whether you support that or not. We'll talk about it. Using supraglottic airways versus straight intubation, when to, when not to, et cetera, et cetera. So I do want to point out, nothing quote unquote major is changing. I'm still going to be the voice of the podcast, whether that's good or bad. Just kidding. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to change my name. I'm not going to do anything like that. But it'll be a more direct approach geared towards EMS and our providers that we'll start moving towards, versus literally by myself. I'm just finding people and asking people I know to be on my podcast. And so we'll have some more people and a more diverse group. And like Jeff and I talked about initially, and it's so funny that you said everything about what y'all were looking for, because my entire goal of this podcast has literally been to educate the masses who will listen and bring on people in this field that can share something for the listeners. And like I always say, I learn something new from each and every episode. And I feel like there's at least one person out there who may feel that way. And if it just reaches that one person, congratulations. That's what I'm here for. But however, now with the help of Jeff and his team and stuff like that and Master Your Medics, I'll be more equipped to be able to do those things, as well as fulfill a passion that I personally have to help the newer providers on the EMT level and the paramedic level and help everybody flourish and excel in this field. Because I think I've talked about it before in my episodes, but I want to bring an educational aspect and different perspective from other providers that I wish I would have had. And something that you can learn from, you can grow from, whatever. But being able to retrospectively, for me, if I could go back to baby EMT Alexis, and even a year ago and some change, giving myself the toolbox and the keys to be able to say, hey, here's this topic. What do you think about this? Or, hey, here's some advice and whatnot. So I also still stand by my statement that I personally, I I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing hosting this platform, because again, I'm still new to this field, but I really look forward to where we can take this. And I look forward to the people that are going to come on. And like I say at the closing of every episode, like if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. Like being able to make waves in this field and do something that lasts. So that's the goal. That's what we're going to do. And I'm super stoked. I am so stoked.
We're pumped too, and I think that uh like I said, we picked the right person, and we're going to continue to push you and challenge you, have fun with you, and bring on some people that I think that can not only make you a great paramedic and continue to enhance you, but also enhance the viewers and the listeners of this podcast. Like Alexis is saying, nothing's really changing other than the fact that we're gonna provide her support. And that's kind of what I said in our first conversation, is that we're going to bring the power of Master Medics to you to continue to enhance you. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we're excited to do for you. And yeah, so we're going to roll with this, and we're going to have some fun, and we're going to bring to you some pretty amazing topics. And one thing that I will promise, and I think Alexis can also promise, is that we're not going to shy away from the hard topics. And that's something that I really am looking forward to, is that things like ketamine and EMS, which is a hot topic right now, we're going to talk about it from both sides and how to maybe fix the problem and why it's so controversial. Things like news that happens around the world in EMS. We're going to talk about those things and get our opinions from experts in those kind of things. And so one thing I can promise the viewers and the listeners right now is that we're not going to shy away from the hard topics. And because I think that if we do that, we're not doing our new paramedics, our new EMTs any justice, because they need to hear thoughts on these new topics. They need to hear thoughts on these hard topics, or they're not going to grow. And that's something that we're not interested in doing. So we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna hit some hard topics and really talk about them, and really get deep with them, and give you some insight on what we feel about those topics, and be honest with you.
Awesome. It's going to be a fun ride. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for my listeners. I really feel like this is something that needs to happen, and it'll be a good time. So with that,